BJ from Fast Bikes magazine here, and I've spent the last few weeks riding this gorgeous lady around the UK roads in all the lovely winter weather. Before I start talking about the bike, I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping, call it personal housekeeping. I would have kind of preferred if they had dropped the Panigale moniker for this bike. I would have kind of liked it to have been that whenever you said the word Panigale, people who knew what they were, it would almost be like a mark of respect. If you're a Panigale owner, people would think, you know, that's some bike. But then again, it very much depended on what this machine was like. And I'll be honest with you, even though I watched Chris's fantastic report from the launch and I read Bruce's report in our magazine, I knew it was going to be good on track, but I still wasn't quite sure what to expect. Imagine how surprised I was when I first pulled away on this bike, and it was like no big Panigale I'd ever ridden before. In fact, it was so smooth, I'm pretty sure I compared it to a Honda of any description. At first, a teeny bit of me was a little bit disappointed. However, that disappointment was offset by the remarkable change in attitude. This bike at slow speeds is so usable. I think it could possibly be more usable than the Suzuki GSX-R 1000R that I'm riding on a daily basis. Good, the throttle response is good, the engine is nice and easy to use, the brakes don't grab at you. Actually, the first thing that really hit home was when I pulled away was the riding position. There's less weight for your wrist, it's a bit flatter, and it really reminded me on the ride of another bike. I could not figure out what bike that was until it finally clicked. And for me, the riding position on this is very reminiscent of the Aprilia RS-V4 RF. But what this turns into is a bike that has very neutral steering. It's still fast enough, it's very easy to maneuver, but it's not razor sharp anymore. It's just nice. Now, when I finally got out onto some more open roads, the first thing that really impressed me was just how quick this thing is on a part throttle. The acceleration is actually remarkable, just by kind of half or three-quarter throttle openings, not full. And it really starts to pull. But then I got onto a bit of a faster stretch, and you know, the first initial impression, the only way I can describe it is, oh my God. It goes from being this nice, serene kind of superbike scooter into this kind of raging animal that basically will allow you to do what you want to do, and crucially, compared to the L-Twin, won't scare you too much. The only thing that can possibly scare you on this bike is the sheer speed it is capable of, because it is absolutely batshit crazy. What a machine. So I really thought, right, we need to see what this is punting out. So we popped up to JHS Racing to put it on the dyno and see what she was making. So we are here as one part of this test to see how much power this bike makes. They claim 214, so doing some very rough maths in my head, I'm expecting high 180s.
This has to come off.
All of it?
Well, this portion here to get into there.
Oh dear.
Well, this is the way that Ducati say to do it. No doubt, in future, the more of these we see, we'll come up with another idea. But this seems to be the most simple way of doing it at this stage. There we go. Right, I need to get down there. That's it. That'll do.
Right, let's see how we did.
Right. This is 186.13
Yep.
with 107.11 noddy meters.
Yep.
Now, we then put it in 6th gear. Okay. And
Big difference.
a little bit of horsepower there, 1 horsepower gain at peak.
Yeah.
A little bit of torque, but it's this mid-range grunt.
Yeah.
Now, if we go across to here, you know, from, let's say, I don't know, where are we at? Let's go 9.5 from 138 in 4th gear to 146 in 6th gear.
Yeah. That's balmy.
Electronics controlling this bike massively.
Yeah.
Give it 5 minutes and we'll pull a little bit more out of it.
But that's bang
It's
on.
warm now.
That you minus that thing off, and that is bang on Ducati's claim.
Yeah.
So, which is, and it is now the most powerful super bike. The H2's got a 190, I think it does 192, I can't remember, but that is. Okay, thank you very much, James.
Thank you.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Right then, as we're mucking about near Castle Combe, and the last time I was on track was here at Castle Combe on the FE, I just thought, why not stop and see if they'll let us out on this in February on Supercourses? Why the hell not? They've only gone and let us out. Thank you so much, Castle Combe. Amazing, we've got the whole track to ourselves for a while. Although it's February, wet, brand new tyres, and there's patches of ice, so gently does it. Now look, it wasn't dry enough for me to start trying to play about with the slide control, but what it did give me was a really good impression of the bike versus the FE that I rode with Bike World last year. Again, I had it in race mode, so the suspension was on its kind of hardest settings, but it was so much more usable. It was so much more pliant. It just got on with the job, and every single time you opened up the throttle, she would just zing out of a turn. Even though the lean, we weren't getting huge amounts of lean, it was a massive amount of fun. So again, thanks Castle Combe for letting us out. The time I had on track though did make me think more about the suspension on this bike. I mean, obviously it's electronically suspended, it's like the 2nd generation Öhlins, and it is so good that I think almost for the first time, whilst I've enjoyed a lot of electronically suspended bikes, I've always preferred a beautiful setup of a more traditional fork, but this stuff is remarkable. So you go into race mode or whatever it is and the suspension gets set up, right? But then you're on track and, you know, if you're giving the bike a damn good thrashing, but you think, just not enough support on the brakes, I want more support. Well, there's a system for that where you can go in and adjust it specifically for front fork support as you go into a turn, which kind of works slightly independent of the usual damping. And as soon as you've got back off the brakes onto the throttle, it essentially goes back to the race mode settings, which is just nuts. And the same for the rear as well. You can also do the same for the rear shock, as in how much you want it to squat or how much support. You can give yourself more support on corner exit. I mean, this really is the future. There's only a couple of bikes out there with this kind of level of technology on, and I suppose what I want to see is in 10 years time this kind of stuff on bikes that cost 10 grand, but we can only hope really on that one. I'll be honest, part of me didn't want to be blown away so much. A part of me, probably the part that loves the L-Twin so much, wanted this bike to be really good but not as good as it could be. It may not have as much of the drama of the previous models. It may be as nice and easy to use as a 959 Panigale or during the everyday stuff, but it will blow you away. But who are the people it will blow away? Because whether or not this can be used as an everyday bike or not, I don't think you'd call an everyday bike the thick end of £24,000, even though you can buy the bike on the PCP scheme. Now, the beauty of PCP, of course, is once you're in with this kind of thing, then you can choose to stay in. And I suppose you could do a trade-in with your current bike to pay off some of that deposit. It does make this bike more attainable for a greater number of people. And I'm sure there are plenty of people out there now chewing their faces off, wondering why I'm sitting here going mad about a £24,000 bike. Well, you ride one, you will know exactly what I and everyone else are talking about, because it will blow your socks off. But there is one thing I'll say. If you're one of these people who could possibly attain this bike, you can trade your bike in, get a good deposit, all the rest of it, but you kind of don't want to because it's so expensive. For the love of Pete, do not go and test ride this bike. Don't do it. If you do it, there's a very good chance you'll end up leaving the dealership with a droopy, melted credit card.